Hi, welcome to episode 36 of Virtualized Geeks Tech Talk. I wanted to call it episode 35 and have a do-over from last week. Evidently, something about the SDN conversation, all of a sudden you guys are not really interested in. But hopefully I'll get a little bit more feedback and more interaction on this conversation because I think it's one of the favorite for maybe not my usual crowd, but I get the question more oftentimes than I thought I should, which is, can OpenStack replace VMware vCenter? You know, it's interesting. Maybe about a year and a half ago, service provider or OpenStack integrator Mirantis had caused quite a bit of stir kind of in the virtualization world by saying that PayPal, which is a very huge VMware vSphere customer, had abandoned vSphere in lieu of OpenStack. That turned out to be a little bit less than what the truth is, but I think the question is out there legitimately that the reason why it caused such a stir is because of the frustration with the virtualization market. I think if you look at the virtualization market in general, VMware, you look at Gartner's Magic Quadrant, and VMware's vSphere is at the top again. I had a very interesting conversation with an analyst type resource, and we're talking about, kind of my dig at VMware a little while ago about if VMware is a one-trick pony or a one-hit wonder with VMware vSphere and everything is based around VMware vSphere, and how long can their dominance last in the hypervisor market? And he made a pretty good point. You know what? Hyper-V has got some legs behind it now. It's got some gray hairs up there. It's not a new product, and it's still quite a bit away from, you think about, other than just the ability to virtualize a server, it's quite a bit of ways away from VMware vSphere holistically in functionality. Take a look at DRS, the maturity of vMotion, storage DRS, VMware's advanced memory management capability, and you wonder, what, this virtualization thing is kind of tough, and virtualization management is kind of tough. So it's interesting when a different player comes along and gives VMware a challenge. And let's be honest, the challenge is vSphere has a perception that it's expensive. If you run a infrastructure organization and you get challenged every year to reduce your budget, and you get this maintenance bill from VMware every year, you're appreciative of the technology, but the bottom line is that we have to find ways to save money. And VMware really hasn't helped us out a lot by reducing the amount that we send to them every year. So I can understand the interest in looking for alternatives. Then there's the whole lock-in thing. VMware does a really great job of allowing third parties to integrate with their full stack. And I caveat that by saying full stack with comparing that to just a hypervisor. So if you took ESXi by itself and said, you know what, which is free, I want to take a bunch of free ESXi software installations running on pretty decent hardware and manage that without VMware vSphere, without the vSphere suite. I want to take, I have a VDI use case and I want to install virtual desktops in my enterprise, but I don't want the vCenter tax. I also don't want to use Zen Server because, let's face it, VMware's top of line when it comes to virtualization. So I want a top of the line VDI solution in Zen Desktop, and I want a top of the line virtualization backend in ESXi. Well, you know what? You can do that just as long as you buy vCenter and allow Zen Desktop to integrate into vCenter. You can't directly manage the ESXi host from, say, a solution like Zen Desktop to, do the orchestration that it needs to build and tear down virtual machines. So VMware has this lock-in issue that people want to get away, have a desire to get away from when I talk to them. So, you know what? When there's an open solution, such as OpenStack, an open management solution that comes on the scene, the temptation is, hey, you know what? Can this potentially replace VMware? You know what? If we say, can we have a solution that I can still keep my ESXi host and take OpenStack and bolt it on top of it and not have kind of the whole vSphere tax would be the best use case? You know what? That's not going to happen for the same reason why we can't take Zen Desktop and put it right on top of ESXi free and manage it. VMware doesn't expose any APIs, non-vCenter APIs, to ESXi free. So from that perspective, no, OpenStack can't replace VMware vCenter or VMware vSphere. And then secondly, it's not really an apples to apples comparison. OpenStack and vCenter are most definitely two different things. They operate in a different layer of the stack. So you know what? Since this is kind of can an OpenStack replace VMware discussion, we'll use a lot of VMware terminology. So let's look at the VMware stack. We have the hypervisor at the lowest level of the stack. Then we have vCenter, which manages the hypervisor, which gives you a lot of great operational value. It allows you to control how DRS runs, how vMotion works, how you manage your storage. So it's a direct management interface into the infrastructure, into the physical infrastructure, and abstracting that physical infrastructure into a logical virtualized data center. So we can think about vCenter kind of working at the data center level and lower. Then we have the higher level, which is, now we get into the vCloud Director, vCAC, vCenter Automation Center. And this is a higher level view of the enterprise. And this is where a lot of our OpenStack-like use cases come into play, where we are providing services to whether it's an internal developer community or an external cloud customer. We use solutions such as VMware vCloud Director and VMware's vCenter Automation Center, vCAC, as a solution to those problems. And this is where kind of OpenStack and VMware, the overlap comes into play. If you don't have a use case for vCAC and for, to a lesser extent, vCAC and vCloud Director, then OpenStack really, probably I'm not seeing where you might get out of OpenStack if you're looking at it from straight of a virtualization management solution. So OpenStack isn't a virtualization management solution as it is today. But OpenStack, again, is open. So that means that because it's open, I can take the underlying hypervisors, whether it's Zen Server or KVM or whatever the flavor of open source hypervisor OpenStack is supporting, and I can take some other management suite, some other operations center, similar to the vCenter. So in theory, I can take SCCM 2012 and take a bunch of Hyper-V units, put OpenStack above that, and have a similar stack as on the similar Microsoft/OpenStack stack, similar to my vCenter stack. But that gets us back to where we started, which is a real replacement for VMware. If you have bought into the whole, or if you've invested into the whole VMware stack and the whole VMware solution, it's really you'll find it. You'll be hard pressed to find a equivalent open source solution that you wouldn't have to build on your own. And in theory, that's the beauty of OpenStack, that you can take either third-party solutions or your own homegrown solutions, build them, integrate them into OpenStack, and leave this closed system that's VMware. But, let's take a realistic look at it. Microsoft has had a long time. Citrix has had a long time to catch up with VMware. And simply put, they just haven't done it for whatever reasons. Companies that have real vested interest in making consumer-grade solutions or productized solutions for virtualization management just haven't been able to catch up with VMware. And if you're a shop that makes widgets, are you going to really invest any development muscle into trying to replace VMware? If the ideal was to replace an expensive solution with a less costly solution, then OpenStack really doesn't solve that problem for you. If you have a different problem that's at that cloud orchestration level or that cloud delivery and management level, then there's a conversation that's worth being had. Matter of fact, we had that conversation a couple of episodes ago. I highly suggest you guys go back and listen to episode 33 of Virtualized Geeks Tech Talk, where we talked about OpenStack and if OpenStack was ready for the enterprise or if the enterprise ready for OpenStack. Well, that's it for this episode of Virtualized Geeks Tech Talk. We'll talk to you episode 37. Thanks.